All right, so who were the big four? Listen and explain the penalties placed on Germany at the end of World War One with the Treaty of Versailles. Do you think the Allied powers went too far with these restrictions and penalties? There you go. The Raiders win yesterday. Really? The football team got them, huh? Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
All done.
I saw it was close, man.
All done. I'll bring you a couple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, boss, you come back home, remember?
He did.
Is that
Oh.
what
I don't know. Yeah.
Two and four. You like that high?
Yeah.
Wait for him to. State.
Yeah.
And then, you know,
You mean Louisiana?
yeah.
They're a good pass. Miami's get the crystal ball. I don't know if I like that or not. I don't know why you leave Oregon. Is it? So why do you like Florida?
The first, football.
Yeah.
And people.
Yeah.
And they're staying with that.
Cool. Give me another minute to finish up. All right, Eddie, who are the big four? Who were the big four? We went over this the other day.
Minister Lord George Clemenceau, and Victoria, Minister Victoria Orlando.
Okay, yeah, good job. So we have Italy, Orlando, right? We have Clemenceau, France, David Lloyd George of Great Britain. And who from the United States?
Wilson.
Yeah, President Wilson. Good job. So the big four were set, and they were the ones who were trying to maybe solve Europe and really the world after World War One. Try to make sense of it, and try to rebuild it, reconstruct it after this huge conflict. So make sure you guys remember the big four. At least its representatives, right? Make sure you remember it's Great Britain, France, the United States, and Italy. Okay. I know we talked about it. Italy at the start of the war. What side were they on? What side were they on at the start of the war? Cassidy, you remember? Were they always on the Allied power side? No, they weren't. They're actually alongside of Austria, Hungary, and Germany at the start with the Triple Alliance. Remember? Yeah, and then towards the end of the war, well, midway through the war, Italy jumped sides. And a lot of it because they knew that they were going to maybe lose here, and they wanted to try to expand their empire. Right? They wanted to try to become a stronger country. And if they win, they're on the victor's side. Well, chances are they're going to claim more land and grow as an industrial power. Right, Angel? Yeah, are you okay over there? Oh, you're scratching your head. All right, sorry about that. Okay, penalties of the Treaty of Versailles. Let's talk about them. So with the Treaty of Versailles, what did this try to set out to do? Noah, go ahead.
Germany was demilitarized, and they don't want them to have it.
Okay, all right, good job, good job. So we'll just go through the list here. You're saying number one is what? Their military is restricted?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can throw that in there, yeah. So military is restricted. They're only allowed to have 100,000 troops for defensive purposes. Good. What else? What else about their military? Cassidy? Yeah, no Navy. Good job. No Navy. Why not? Yeah, good job. So Great Britain wanted to make sure that Germany could never challenge their Navy again, the Royal Navy. And we all know that that was really Great Britain's feather in their cap, that they had the strongest Navy in the world. And Germany was the one who was challenging them. So to try to prevent this from happening again, Great Britain wanted to make sure that they didn't have a Navy. And we all know that France wanted to try to restrict, obviously, Germany's military, their land military. Why? Barbara? Okay, all right, yeah. So within, let's say, 50, 40 years with the Franco-Prussian War and World War One, Germany attacked them, right? They invaded them twice. So, I mean, let's face it, France wanted to make sure that this didn't happen for a third time within a couple years, right? So just with that heated rivalry, because France was too worried about this, right? They were just invaded twice now within a short time span. So they wanted to prevent that from happening again. So the Allied powers wanted to make sure they could take away their military, and obviously their Navy being a part of that. So we all know that Germany had what in their military? What were they so prideful about? I guess it's nationalism, right? I kind of gave that one to you. So Germany had a strong sense of nationalism within their military. That's kind of what brought the country together. Remember the German-speaking states, right? The only way they got brought together was because of Otto von Bismarck and this new advancement in the military. All right, good. So the Allied powers really wanted to make sure they could restrict the military. What else? What else do we talk about? Tanner?
They lost land in all their colonies.
Okay, yeah, good job. So lots of territories. Good. So military bases all around the world in Asia and Africa are all taken away from Germany. And we all know with these military bases, these territories, what are they extracting from them? Griffin, what are they extracting from these territories around the world? Yeah, resources, raw materials that they can't find within their own country. So if you take that away from them, chances are the standard of living is going to go down. All these resources that the people in Germany were dependent on from outside sources are all gone, taken away. We all know with low supply how that could really affect the economy, how that could really affect just the standard of living, right? So all these goods that they're maybe wanting and had for so many years, well, if they want it, they're gonna have to pay a pretty penny. All right, good. What else? What else? Griffin? Yeah, reparations. Good job. And what are reparations? Yeah, good job. So because I'll put this one up too, the sole blame. Because Germany was solely blamed for the war, for the conflict, they were faced to pay all these reparations, which are penalties, right? So, are fines pretty much. And that built up to what, $320 billion? That's what they rated it to. That's a lot of money. Okay, that's a lot of money. So, Germany had to pay back these war damages, had to rebuild France, rebuild themselves, and really the rest of the world from this conflict because they were solely blamed for the war. And I know I mentioned it. When did they finally pay back these reparations from World War One? Angel? 2010. Yeah, crazy to think about, right? Almost 100 years after the war. And 2010 really wasn't that long ago. I was still in high school. What's that?
At least they paid them back.
Yeah, at least they paid him back. Yeah, at least they paid him back. Good, good. Last one here. Last one here. Cassidy? Yeah, loss of their borderlands. Good. Good. So their lands were restricted. So they lost some land on the eastern side that they just claimed from Russia with that Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, right? And they lost some land, Alsace-Lorraine, that territory they took from France with the Franco-Prussian War. And they lost some territory in the southern border, which creates other countries like Czech Republic, okay, and even Austria, right? Austria is being restricted at this point as well. Okay, they're losing territory the northern part of their country. And the reason for it, well, they can take away some of their industrial gains, right? Their industries. Chances are they can't rebuild. They can't build a military back up. So you can see with all these restrictions and the reparations, France and Great Britain, the Allied powers, wanted to try to punish Germany for the war and make sure that they could never rise to power again because they're so fearful of the power Germany was becoming. Without industries, without territory, without resources, without a military, and if you're getting the sole blame of the war, chances are you're not going to be able to rise to a power again. And that's going to cause a lot of animosity. That's going to cause a lot of people to be fueled and fired up and motivated against your rivals like France and Great Britain. So this is going to push for extreme values to be presented in politics in Germany. And we'll talk about some of the anarchy and the chaos that is stretching out over Germany after World War I as they're going through this huge depression. All right, is there any questions, guys? Good with the Treaty of Versailles. I'm going to bring this back up when we get to World War II, because this is the main cause to World War II, the ending of World War I. Okay. All right. So real quick, I want to talk about the 14 points, League of Nations, and I want to get you working on your assignment. Okay, so Wilson's plan for world peace. All right, this is what President Wilson's really known for. Obviously, the United States getting involved in World War I. This is the first global conflict the United States is getting involved in. Okay, yeah, the Spanish-American War kind of was, but we're mostly playing it in the Western Hemisphere. Okay, yeah, moving out into Asia, but here this time, okay, now we're getting involved with these other European countries that are industrialized, that are very powerful. And this is something the United States have never really got an encounter with. Ever since the creation of the United States, George Washington, first president of the US, thought it was in the United States' best interest to stay out of these world affairs. We're so far away from these other European countries and Asian countries, there's no reason to get involved in their problems, their disputes. If we do, that could lead to our demise, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so Wilson wanted to try to get back to normal, right? He wanted to try to kind of get out of these European issues. But at the same time, he wanted to try to set up some sort of peace, okay? So he wanted to try to create peace and create a committee, an organization where these countries can come together, dispute their issues, and prevent another conflict from happening. So with the 14 points, yeah, there's 14 of them. The last one being the League of Nations. That's the one to remember. The League of Nations was established that there'd be a representative from each country that they can dispute and talk about certain concerns at the world stage before another conflict, before another war could happen. And it's a great idea, right? It's a great idea. And we all know the United Nations today is established for that. And the United States is a part of it. And it does a pretty good job at solving some of these concerns, solving some of these conflicts before another war would happen. Obviously, we haven't seen World War III, thank the Lord. But again, with World War I, the League of Nations was established after this war to prevent another war from happening. Was it successful? No. We all know World War II is about to happen. And a lot of it because of the Treaty of Versailles. And because the United States did not join. So I know I mentioned it before, but why did the United States not join the League of Nations? Why did they decide to stay out of this organization, even though President Wilson came up with it? Why do you think, Cale? Wilson, the President of the United States, he created this organization. Why do you think Congress voted on not to join? What's that?
Because they made the league.
Okay, well, Wilson created it, right? Yeah. So why do you think Congress, they're the ones who are deciding whether or not to join or not? Okay, that's the representatives around the United States. Why do they think they decided no, Cale? Okay, all right. Okay, there's part of that. Why didn't they agree, Tanner? What do you think?
Well, one, they just got out of the European war,
Yeah,
and two, they don't think they should be involved in the Central Europe anymore.
yeah, good job. Good job. So Congress thought, well, the way we're going to get involved in another European conflict, a world conflict, is if we stay in these types of organizations, right? If we're in really the conversation, if we're in the debate with these other European countries about war, about conflict, about concerns, then chances are we're going to be drawn into the next conflict, right? The next war. So that's why Congress voted on no, we're going to stay isolated. We're all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. There's no need for the United States to join into this organization. So if we do, chances are we're going to be dragged into the next war. So that's why Congress said no, even though it's President Wilson's idea. So real quick, I know I mentioned earlier about Japan and Italy. So with Japan and Italy, they're at these conversations. Obviously, we know Orlando was a part of the Big Four that tried to set up an establishment of the Treaty of Versailles. In all reality, Italy just wanted to grow. Okay, they wanted to claim more territory after the conflict. Do you think they were granted that territory? No, they were not. Okay. So Italy really didn't gain the territory that they wanted. They didn't gain the expansion at the end of the war like they wanted. Why not? Well, majority of the fighting was done by who? Great Britain and France, right? The United States then joins to really put down the conflict and Germany's expansion. So Italy didn't claim land. What about Japan? What about Japan? I know we mentioned them briefly, but they're mostly fighting out, in these territories that were controlled by Germany. They're taking out some of their navy, and they're controlling some of their territories out in Asia, okay, and even parts of Africa. But do you think Japan received the same seat as, let's say, France, Great Britain, the United States? Griffin, you're shaking your head no. Why not? Yeah, good job. And sad to say, but a lot of these Asian countries like Japan were viewed as inferior. Like they weren't capable of competing at the Western modern viewpoints of these European countries and the United States. So with a lot of these conversations, a lot of these discussions, Japan really wasn't invited. Even if they were sitting at the table, their voices weren't heard at all. They didn't claim any type of territory or land. And at the same time, their voices weren't heard. So Japan kind of left the conversations before they even begun. They kind of saw the writing on the wall that they won't be accepted. So leading up into World War II, Japan's not too happy with the Allied powers. They won't listen to their concerns, their voice, their opinions. Same with Italy. And guess who joins the Axis powers with Germany? Japan and Italy. Does that make sense, guys? So we're already at the end of World War One, the League of Nations, the Treaty of Versailles, and because Japan and Italy weren't being heard, this is going to already set up the stage for World War II, where Japan and Italy are going to join up with Germany because of the poor standing of the Treaty of Versailles and the League of Nations. Who knows, if the United States would have stayed in contact, if the United States would have stayed in the League of Nations, maybe World War II wouldn't have happened. No one really knows for sure, though. All right, any questions? Okay, all right, so I'll only get you working on your assignment for today. You should be able to finish this up. You have about, what, 10 minutes, 12 minutes? So you'll see the assignment here. Okay, League of Nations. I'll have the political cartoon up on the board for you guys, so you don't have to flip back and forth. And you can just complete the questions that are attached. Oh. There are the questions. And here's a political cartoon. So I know it might be hard to read this sign over here, but it's really just saying about the League of Nations bridge has been designed by the President of the USA. Okay, so President Wilson. And we all know who that is, not Mr. America, but Uncle Sam. Okay, well, you guys get working on it.